NXT starts off with Nathan Frazier versus Eddie Thorpe, one of the qualifying matches for the men for the Iron Survivor. Nathan Frazier ends up picking up the victory, of course, as he should. It only makes sense. But during this match, all the tag teams was outside watching. They've been building up the tag. They've been trying to build up the tag division to build up who's going to be the next opponent for Nathan Axiom. During this, they all watching the match, and then during the match, they all end up brawling, and afterwards, they all end up brawling, continuing to brawl. The main focus of this was mainly the tag match. They've been really showing the cracks of potentially Nathan and Axiom potentially breaking up, which could happen sooner than later because Axiom also has an Iron Survivor qualifying match next week, which he probably will win, and then which means they will probably have to face each other in the Iron Survivor. So them being more focused, mainly Nathan, more focused on singles goal instead of the tag team titles could potentially cost them, the opportunity to retain those tag team titles. So interested to see how this plays out. Interested to see who will be the one to dethrone them if they actually pull the trigger. I'm not gonna put my to be honest, I don't want them to lose, but I'm not gonna also assume they're gonna lose because the last time they did this story angle where they was doing the whole Nathan getting too cocky angle, I didn't really address it because I didn't think they was going to lose, and that what ended up happening. So I'm not gonna really believe it until I see more. Because right now, I still believe that if they face a tag team right now, they would retain because the tag teams in the division haven't been built up to even beat Nathan Axiom. So I'm not going to really believe it. But the story so far, I do like what they're telling here. This was a great way to open the show because this was a really good match. After this, we end up getting the next match for the women's Iron Survivor qualifying match. Jada Parker versus Stephanie Valkyr. And the moment they put Jada Parker versus Stephanie, we already knew Stephanie wasn't going to lose, but it makes sense. Lola Vice ends up coming out towards the end of the match. She comes out with a brick, distracts Jada Parker, which allows Stephanie to take advantage. As upset that I could be that Jada Parker lost, I'm not really that upset because, to be fair, she wasn't going to win anyway because I don't think they was ever going to push her for the. She wasn't going to win the NXT title. She already had her chance. If anything, she should be going after the North American title. And plus, they're gonna have Stephanie, Julia, and Zarya all in that match. Like they're just like. And then there's no way that Jada Parker was gonna beat any of those three in that Iron Survivor. So I'm not upset about it. The Lola Vice feud, it's somewhat interesting, especially now since they're both not playing this weird babyface role. Now they're both reverted back to their natural heel selves. So I'm interested in the feud. I'm interested to see how they progress it because they had a hardcore match. I don't know how you get further, how you move on from a hardcore match, but I'm interested in the feud nonetheless. Afterwards, we end up getting NXT North American Championship match between Brooks Jensen and Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo easily picks up the victory as expected, but after the match though, Sean Spears ends up shaking Tony D'Angelo's hand, distracting Tony D'Angelo, allowing Brooks Jensen to ends up attacking Tony. Of course, Tony being the babyface he is, of course, wants a match between Sean Spears due to him feeling that he backstabbed him, him being a coward, all of that. Then so next week, I don't know if it's next week, could be next week, could be a deadline, not sure. But he ends up getting the title match. So interested to see how that plays out. Very interested that they end up making him get the title match this soon. I don't think Tony D'Angelo is going to lose only because Sean Spears hasn't been built up that much. So, but it will be interesting to see how that story plays out. After this, we end up getting Brentley Reese, Dion Lennox, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his name, versus Carmen and Ashante. Carmen and Ashante actually picked up the victory, which I was very shocked by. I thought they would lose and play the story of them, not being on the same, which they did. They did play the story of them not being on the same page. Earlier in the match, they kept tagging each other back and forth to see who would go first. But they did end up playing that story later in the show of them not getting along. But they picked up the victory. It looked like they was on good terms. They're happy. They're celebrating. And it look, they're getting along. But then backstage, Nikita Lyons ends up talking to Ashante about him not responding back to a text, which made Carmen mad. And then, which ended up making Carmen mad. If I'm not mistaken, she walks off. So it looks like they're still playing. They're slowly building. They're slowly building the story of them eventually. I don't know, either getting together, them being. I don't know what the end goal is with this story. I'm interested in the story. It's very goofy. It's silly, but it's enjoyable. And Ashanti is playing his role well. And Carmen Carmen is doing a great job in her role as well. Liking the story here. Like I said, don't know what the end goal is here, but I am enjoying this story. We end up getting the last women qualifying match, if I'm not mistaken, for this episode. We end up getting Ren Sinclair versus Zarya. Zarya picks up the victory. Not gonna speak too much on this match. I will say this: Zarya is very much impressing me. She is amazing in the ring. She has impressed me in her promo. She is the one I am the most excited for when it comes to between Julia, Stephanie, between those three. She is the most impressive in my opinion, mainly due to her character work. She didn't cut no promo or anything today, but based off what I've heard from her in NXT, she has been amazing. I love her moveset, her being this big, strong power. I love I love Zarya. Zarya has been really impressing me. I don't think she's gonna win the Iron Survivor match, only because she hasn't been. They mainly been pushing Julia and Stephanie for Roxanne, not Zarya, so that's what makes me feel like she's not gonna win. But if Zarya's the one that beat Roxanne Perez, I ain't mad at it. I actually prefer that if I'm being honest. But this I love what Zarya's doing. I love the way they've been booking her, man. She's been amazing, especially in the ring. She's been amazing. But yeah, she ends up picking a victory and she ends up qualifying for the Iron Survivor. After this, we end up getting Fatal Influence. They end up cutting a promo. The promo wasn't anything special. It was just basically them talking about them being on top, and then Fallon Henley ends up mentioning that she's gonna do an open challenge next week. But then all the women backstage randomly come out. I'm not gonna speak too much on it really. They end up coming out brawling, which allowed JC Jane and Jasmine Nix to start brawling with the other women, but Fallon Henley stayed inside. Then Tatum Paxley comes out and ends up attacking Fallon Henley from behind, and she ends up holding the championship. Here we go again. Okay. Man, this is tough because I want Tatum Paxley to win a championship. I feel like she should have been won a championship. I would still stand on the idea that she should have been the one to dethrone Roxanne Perez after her turn on Lyra Valkyria. Yeah, she's not winning. It's obvious that she's not winning, and it's easy. You have to keep Fatal Influence strong to keep them holding the title for a bit. Not saying they need a long reign, but it'll be upsetting if they just lost this quickly. But to be fair, if they lose to Tatum Paxley very quickly, I'm not upset. But to be fair, she's not winning. But I am happy that she is getting an opportunity, that she's getting TV time, because I don't know why she don't be on TV consistently, especially with her character, her gimmick. She's too good not to be on TV. But I'm interested to see where this goes. Also, they need to have Fatal Influence have more segments, have more promos. Like, they all can talk on the microphone. They should have more promos like this. Like, I think they should really just have more promos like this. Constantly talk about how they're the best. I think this could build up good heel heat. I like it. Shoot, I think this is a good way to build them up. I think they need to have more segments and more promos like this, in my opinion. Now we know getting the main event. Ridge Holland versus Andre Chase. This was a banger. This was a banger match. This was better than their ambulance match. It was a bit overbooked, I will admit, but it worked in the favor of the match. This is great. We end up getting towards well, not really the end, but we get to a moment where Ridge ends up getting a steel chair. The ref sees it. The ref takes it away, throws it out, which made the ref get distracted, and Ridge Holland ends up low blowing Andre Chase. He hits his finisher, goes for the pin, but then Duke Hudson ends up pulling the referee out, stopping the pin. Then Duke and Ridge, they end up brawling. They end up going to the outside, but then Ridge, you get the upper hand, and ends up spearing him through that wall, that NXT wall. He ends up spearing him through that. After he spears him through that, Riley Osborne comes out of nowhere, ends up doing a springboard to the outside. They brawl for a bit, but then he ends up packing up Riley Osborne as well. Then this allowed Andre Chase to make a good comeback, but then ends up going downhill because Ridge Holland ends up being too much for Andre Chase and ends up picking up the victory. So now it's official. This is the end of Chase U, and Ridge Holland will be the one facing Trick Williams at Deadline. I'm actually surprised by this. The only reason why I'm surprised by this is only because I did not expect them to end Chase U now. I did not expect them to do that. I really didn't. I did not expect them to end Chase U. I thought they would continue the whole Chase U thing going, but all good things must come to an end, and I'm not mad at it. I think it was a good time to end it. I feel like Chase U done everything they could have done, and then, to be honest, after this Ridge Holland storyline, what else did they have? I thought they should have ended it at JC Jane, but they need to hear. I'm not mad at it. And this is great. I'm enjoying Ridge Holland's heel run, which is crazy. I never thought I would enjoy Ridge Holland so much, but he's doing some great work in NXT. And this is great. I think this is good. Now, I am concerned for Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, and Riley because without Chase U, what is their gimmick? What is their character? Thea Hell should be fine, but those three, not really sure what their gimmick and what's their reasoning without Chase U. So that's very interesting. But this was a good episode of NXT. Can't wait to see what's next, how the stories progress. But you guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.